In the back of your handbooks is that acknowledgement form, and what it is, it acknowledges that you have received, will read, and understand all of the rules and regulations put forward. That's me just breaking it down in language. You need to be sure to sign that, tear it out of the back of the book. You can turn it in on the table on your way out. Will be fine. Also, having said that, if I am audited for your 8-hour updates, the only proof that I have that you attended these updates is your signature on the signing sheet. So if you have not signed the signing sheet at our next break, please go out there and do that, so that we can have that just for the case of an audit. Now I'm going to go over my portion of this, and then we're going to finish up with my section with the active shooter training. All right, first thing I've got on the list is COVID safety. As we mentioned, it's not mandated that you sanitize your bus after each run, but certainly if you want to do that, we will supply you with the materials to do that. And not trying to sound negative or anything, but if you've kept an eye on the transmission rates in Laurel County and the surrounding area, we are as high, if not higher, than we have been throughout this whole issue. So I encourage you to take precautions that you want to take. You want to wear a mask. Places that it's not mandated, wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. But I encourage you to, things that we do know that work is hand sanitizer, washing your hands, and just good hygiene practices, just like we've always been taught since we were little kids. Those work. And I encourage you to do that. Take your own health and safety into your own hands. Because we want you to be healthy, we want you to be safe, we want you to be able to come perform your job every day. We want our kids to be safe as well. So use your own common sense for your COVID safety. Now, one thing I'd like, this will be kind of an odd thing, I'd like everybody to get their cell phones out. Everybody get your cell phones out and check your Remind and see if you got that Remind test from me. I did it right before the break earlier. If you did not get, and it says, what's it say? Good morning, I think it says, good morning, this is a test Remind. If you did not get that, you need to check with either Marshall or myself, and let's make sure that you're on that Remind system. And I know you guys get between all the spam phone calls and spam text and emails and stuff, it seems like it's overwhelming, but this is the best tool that we have to communicate to all of you at one time outside of the radio. So if you're not on Remind, be sure that you get signed up on Remind. It's an excellent way that we can communicate with you. All right, DOT physicals. Just like always, my main portion of my job is I'm here to serve you guys. I'm here to make sure that you're up to date on your physicals and your license, and that we're in compliance on random drug tests. We will continue to have Faith Holt to come in and perform physicals at my office, and it's working out pretty good that she's there one day a month. Anyone is welcome to use that service. It doesn't cost you anything. If you cannot schedule that day, we still have an agreement with DOT Physicals there at Dog Patch behind Old Town Creek. You can go there any weekday 9 to 6, and I think it's 9 to 1 on Saturdays. And they do accept walk-ins. So I will continue to do just as I've done. I audit ahead each month the physicals that's coming due, and I send you out a text or give you a phone call and let you know your physical's coming due, and I'll let you know the date that the nurse will be at the office. And if you want to schedule an appointment, that service is there for you. Same way on your driver's license. It's required that you You have a self-certification. Each time you renew your driver's license, whenever I see that you have a driver's license coming due, usually a month ahead of time, I'll go ahead and do your self-cert so that when you go to courthouse and renew them, you don't have any trouble. But I'll also let you know when I do that so that you're clear to do that. Random drug testing. You know how I operate. When your name is selected, and listen, I have no control over how many times in a row you are selected for random drug test. The most I have ever seen thus far is 4. 4 times in a row we've had an individual do that, but I have no control. We will probably start it in August, since we're getting started our school year a little sooner this year. Most definitely it will be September. So you will hear me on the radio in the morning, call you and ask you to stop in and see me. That is just a cue that you've been selected. Now, you're not under the 24-hour bubble until I inform you that you have been selected for a random drug test. So if you have an appointment, something that prevents you from doing it that day, I can reschedule you in that week, okay? But you need to contact me so that I can do that, so that we can be in compliance. So, nothing's really changed with the DOT physicals, the random drug test, and your driver's license. But do I have any questions about that? Over. Any questions at all? Yeah. Okay, you just need to get with either Marshall or myself so we can get you set up on the Remind system. Okay, we'll just need your cell number. It's what we'll need. Well, it didn't take for some reason. So it's just that simple. If you didn't get it, and what we'll do is once we get you implemented into that Remind system, we can send out a test, and that way we can confirm that. Okay. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on. Okay. Page 35. I meant to do that, Marshall, just because it was set up that way. It should have said the north, south, and special needs instead of the max.
Yep. I can do it right now.
Okay, Marshall, what I did, when I sent the remind out, we have 2 options. We can select out north drivers, south drivers, and special needs drivers. Or we have a mass group. Marshall's going to send out another test right now, and you should get another remind from him, and he's going to use that mass everybody. And again, if you don't receive one of those, let us know so we can get you set up. All right, page 35 of your manual, or handbook rather. I'm not going to read this statement. I'm just going to explain to you real quick in layman's terms. This is about the compliance for the use of CBD products. I know that in the past and maybe currently we have people that's using CBD products. Since it is not FDA regulated at this point, there is no way that they have any industry standards for the purity and content of those products. I'm not knocking the products one way or the other. If you want to use them, use them. Just be aware of this. If you use a CBD product and you are selected for a random drug test, you are subject to pot for use of marijuana, THC. If you test positive for THC through the random drug testing, the DOT has no definition to separate use of CBD oil and the use of marijuana. You will have that on your record, and you will be required to go through training and be suspended for 90 days at least, and possible termination. Now, that's something else that we have zero control over. Zero control. So use CBD oil at your own risk, and you have to weigh out the benefits and the risk. So that being said, you have a full statement there if you'd like to read it, but you'll see that it basically says what Summer school pay, did I mention that earlier? If you drove summer school, you should have received 2 of 3 checks already. You will receive 1 more paycheck August the 16th. August the 16th for the last week of June and the first week of July. Those are hard checks, live checks, not direct deposited. So whenever we say we have checks to pick up, please come pick up your check. What they typically do, if they don't send them to us, if they're still at central office after a week, they drop them in the mail. So we're looking for a check August the 15th for summer school. Questions or comments on anything so far? One thing I do want to go over that Daisy kind of hit on is accidents and the importance of having your rosters. Those bus rosters are extremely important in the case of an accident, whether you're on a field trip or whether you're running a regular run. And heaven forbid we have any accidents this year, but we will. One of the first things I'm going to ask you to do, and I'll probably try to call you while I'm en route, or Todd will let you know while he's en route, is that I need a list of the students and where they're sitting. That's a requirement. That's a requirement that you have that roster so that we know that we can report to KDE in case of any injuries where the student was and the student's name, and also the student's grade level. That's part of it. I have no control over that. It's stuff I have to report myself. So if you've got an accurate seating chart, your job is already done. But you want to check that seating chart for accuracy. If you're on a field trip and you have an accident, you must contact either Todd or myself so that we can come and get the reporting that's needed. So if you have an accident while you're on a field trip, it's no different than if you have an accident while you're on a bus route. You're actively hauling students at an official school function, paperwork has to be done and submitted. It doesn't matter if you're in Florida. If you do that, just make sure it's nice weather so that we can get down and try to enjoy the time afterwards. And make it a minor accident so we don't have anything to worry about. But yeah, if you're in Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green, Ashland, anywhere in the state of Kentucky, Gatlinburg, the zoo in Knoxville, it doesn't matter. If you have an accident, you have to report it. And if you report it, always, always, always be prepared to have me a roster of students where they're sitting during the time of the accident and the grade level. So just bear that in mind. I know that they're a pain, and I know it's a hassle. I know, especially on field trips, those coaches or sponsors, they want to get on the bus, they want to get started, they want to get going. Just like Daisy recommended, do not move that bus until you have a roster of students, roster of riders in your hand. So that's just a little advice, because we're going to produce those anyway. You're going to have to produce those for me. Radio usage. Part of my job is safety with the bus garage. Radio usage. Know your codes. Try to become familiarized with the codes, because our channel is not private. We have citizens out in the county that have scanners set up to monitor bus activity for whatever reason. Try to use your codes as much as possible. Try to keep your chatter down as much as possible. And one of my biggest pet peeves, especially when I run a dispatch, and I guess I can speak for anybody that runs dispatch, is for those, and I realize and understand because I've been there, and I'll go ahead and just admit it, I've done this. I've turned that radio down because I've been sick to death of hearing all the racket on the radio. But listen what you do when you turn that radio down and you cannot hear dispatch. You have cut the only line of communication we have with you off. bad weather, we have no way to notify you. So do not turn those radios down where you cannot hear the transmission from dispatch. Because it is terribly frustrating to try to contact you and call and call and call and call and finally have to give up. I mean, literally have to give up trying to contact you because you have the radio turned off. Leave those radios on. You don't have to have them wide open. Leave them on enough where you can hear somebody call your bus number and your name so that we can communicate. And with that in mind, try to keep your transmissions to the necessary information. If it's going to be a longer conversation, it's been standard practice in the past for us just to ask you to pull over to a safe place and give us a call on the cell phone. So just remember that. That radio is the only line of communication we have with you. When you turn it off, you cut yourself off from information. Questions or comments about radio usage? Questions or comments about anything we've covered so far? Because we're getting ready to go into this video, active shooter video. It is 50 minutes long. After we complete the active shooter video, we'll have Patrice and Dave come up, and then hopefully by then we'll have CSX Transportation here with us to get set up for the operational lifecycle. You guys do a great job. You've done a tremendous job under extremely difficult circumstances with COVID last year and the year before as we kind of started to hear about this. And I encourage you to continue to do the great work that you do. We don't know where this is going to go for us in the fall, but there's no doubt in my mind that we will do what's required and you will do it very well and very professionally. And I want to thank you for that personally and on behalf of the management team for all the work that you do. Now, what we're getting ready to see is active shooter training. Heaven forbid we ever have that happen. But just remember some of the things from the past training we've had. If you're in a school bus and you have a child or an adult in an active shooter training, remember we do not return, we do not go to the school. Remember what we do? Anybody remember what the strategy is if you've got a weapon on the bus? Fake a mechanical issue. Act like there's something wrong with the bus. Pull the bus over into what we would call a safe or a more isolated place. Know where you are so that you can radio dispatch with that mechanical issue in your location. That's why the codes are so important. You kind of know those. I know a lot of you post those things in your driver compartment where you can kind of see them. So keep that in mind. This is going to be geared toward all facets of the school day, classroom buses. So some of you teachers may have already seen this video, some of you may not, and I hope it's good information. I hope it's information that nobody in this room ever has to have or ever have to use. But the best thing to ensure safety for that is training. So another unpleasant video, but a needed video, especially in the day and time that we live in. So if Marshall's ready, we'll go ahead and start with our active shooter training. All right. We don't have a lot that I can officially put out to you. But I give you my pledge that next year, if it is at all possible, we will have a transportation video for this. So what do we do? The best tools that we have on the school bus, and you have done an excellent job in the past. I'll just ask you, what are the best tools that we have for prevention? If you notice that they talk the whole section about prevention. What are the best tools that we have for prevention on the school bus? Know your kids. Exactly. Ears. Listen. Some of you, myself included, when the first year I was driving a bus, I had a report of a gun on the bus. Some of you have heard, Jimmy's got a gun, so-and-so's got a bullet. So what's our first thing that we do when we hear that? Number one, we have to take it serious. Number two, you call dispatch. Again, go back to your codes. Possible gun, known gun. You contact dispatch. You do an excellent job. We have to take any kind of report from that, from a child that says Jimmy has a gun, Susie has a bullet. You have to take those serious. You have to react to them immediately. So that's the information that we have to put out to you. And the protocol that we've had in the past. You have an active, a known gun on the bus. You fake mechanical issues. You contact dispatch. We're going to instruct you to pull over your bus and we'll send mechanics. We're not sending mechanics. We're sending the police. Okay? So there's a lot of things that I want to tell you to do, but I can't. But we're going to have a video produced on this. Because, though that was an excellent video for inside of the building, an excellent video for inside of our schools, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat this. That did nothing for any of us sitting in this room. And for that, I apologize. But like I said, I give you my pledge. I'm going to work as hard as I can work and contact the people that need to be contacted, that we get a video produced, not just for us, but for the thousands of bus drivers we have across the state. Fortunately, a very, very low incident rate of violence on the school bus. And that may be why it's not addressed. But that doesn't mean that we don't face those threats. So know your kids. Keep your eyes open. Notice something different about the kids. They come in, they got a big bulge in the back of their pants. If they've got something heavy that's dragging a coat down, ask. Talk. Initiate a conversation. Listen to the kids on the bus. Sometimes these kids find a bullet and they want to bring it to school to show their buddy, but that still doesn't mean that it's something that we must report. We have to report those things. We would all rather chase down 100 false leads. That's like one serious threat. So report that. Know your kids. Keep an eye on things. Use common sense and how we react to those as well. Now, a couple of things here. Operation Lifesaver was scheduled to be here. They've had a railroad accident. He had to respond to it, so they will not be making a presentation today. Having said that, we do still have presentations from the rest of the training department. I do have a couple of things I want to go over about safety real quick before we, so Teresa, I think's up first. So Teresa, if you want to come on up and prepare. Cell phone usage while on the bus. Unless you are instructed by dispatch to pull over and call us on the cell phone. Cell phone usage with or without students on the bus is not acceptable. Right? It's against the law. With or without students, usage of cell phone on the bus is not acceptable. It's against the law. Now, just like if you have, and I'll say this, your bus is empty and you have a phone call you have to make, pull that bus over someplace. Secure your bus, make your phone call, finish your phone call, go on about what you need to do. Just don't operate a bus in any fashion while you're with a cell phone. Second, seatbelt usage is mandatory. You must wear your seatbelt properly. That means shoulder strap across your torso, not tucked under your arm. I realize that it can be uncomfortable. You must wear your seatbelt. while Teresa's doing that, get your handout done, and we'll try to get this rolling as quickly as possible, get everybody out here kind of doing that way. Again, my apologies for the Operation Lifesaver unforeseen on that. I believe Mark did. Mark, bus pickup time.
Scheduled for Monday and Tuesday. If they need to pick it up earlier, they need to check with them. We've still got a few odds and ends to work on. If the bus is available, they can't get it today, tomorrow, or Friday. They have to check with you first.
Scheduled pickup time for your buses is Monday or Tuesday. If you need to pick it up sooner than that, you'll need to clear that with Mark. Some buses are still being worked on, and yours may be one of them. Thank you all. I know that those videos were long but it's required. And as I said, rest assured I will make every effort that we have a transportation after shoot video for next year. I hope you have a great year. Of course, if you have any questions, any issues that I can help you with, I want you to feel free to contact me on anything, and I'll do the best that I can do. Thank you. Hope you have a good school.
I just want to address the active shear video, and it led me with a lot of questions for you guys too, and I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, okay, what do we do in that case? And like Rob said, it needs to be tailored for us. But the only thing I can really leave you with the assurance of how to prevent something like that is what we already do, what we've been talking about, knowing our kids. And Rob said it, I just want to reiterate it. We know our kids, we manage our bus, okay? The proactive things that we can do to manage our students and know them is the best deterrent we have. It's prevention, okay? That is the only thing that I can leave you with, and that's the only thing that I know of. And if you remember back to the video, like he said, there's no stats to know what prevents these type things. They just happen. They work. But like he also said, it's prevention. You're doing the things, you're managing the bus, you know them, you're handling situations, you're keeping them in check. That is what I can leave you with to strive to do. And that will protect you and the kids. So we're going to work on, like Rob said, getting some more direction on what to do in case that happens. And there's 100 scenarios you can go through, but it's never going to be, if God forbid it ever happens in a school, on a bus, in a parking lot, it's never going to be what you prepare for. The only thing we can do to ensure that something like that doesn't happen is management. Know the kids. Okay? I wish I had more answers than that for you, but we're going to work on that as well. Okay, we'll go ahead, Teresa. Student management. Load and unload. Load and unload.
Hi guys. You know how nervous it is for somebody to be up here. I don't know about you all. It makes you a little queasy in the knees. There's only about 5 slides on the board because now this has changed. For years and years it was 18 steps. But I don't know if you guys remember last year we had to do all those tests time after time after time because we weren't here. It moved to 20 steps. And I know everything that we do is important, but to me, this is the most important thing we do is when we love and unload our kids. That's when the biggest danger that there is out there. So if it takes you an extra couple of seconds to get them on there and make sure you do it right, please, by all means, try to do it right. So if you pull that first slide up for me up there, where's the clicker? Pull it up. Okay. So there's four categories. That is approach, you stop, you load, and then you try to do your door. So go ahead, Marshall. So the first thing you'll do is, we're driving. Everybody here knows about it. You're driving out and you're looking to make sure that there's nothing around. You're making sure that all the cars know that you've got on your big yellows, right? You're going to get ready to stop. So tap your brakes 4 or 5 times. That's not a slam on the brake. That's just enough to make the tail lights work. So you're not slinging kids through the windshield. And then you're going to do another visual scan, making sure that they did see that you are slowing down what's about to happen. And then from from there, you're gonna turn on your big yellows, your warning lights. So after you've got your big yellows on, you wanna make sure that you stop no closer than 10 feet from the student. So as we all know, if we stop more than 10 feet away from our kids in Laurel County, where do they have to go? They have to go through the ditch, right? So you have to train your kids to be 10 feet away from you. At the end of the day, if you've got your kids, what you'll do is you'll say, listen, pay attention to me. This is where I want you to stand. So you'll have them stand at least 10 feet away from you in your driveway, but you can still see them. But that also, in the morning, what happens? As soon as they see your big yellows on, they start walking. So you're going to have to train your kids a little bit different this year to stand away from the bus until you tell them to move forward. Step 5, pull that parking brake. Step 6, put your bus in neutral. 7, now you've got your bus, you've got it stopped there, but you still don't have your big reds on. You're still just in your big yellows at this point. So then you're going to do another visual scan. And at this point, that's whenever you turn on your big reds. You're going to go ahead and pop the door 1 notch, not all the way open, because as soon as you open the door, that invites kids to come on. So you've still not cleared everything yet. So what you're going to do at that point is just do that 1 notch on your door, and that'll open up your big reds. Now you're going to do another visual scan at this point. Go ahead, Marshall.
Oh, sorry.
You lost me on that, did you? It's on the other side. Okay, my bad, go back. So now you've done your visual scan again, and then now you're going to completely open the service door. And that's when it's going to invite the kids to come in. So that's where you're going to train the kids to either wait right here or even on the right-hand side. You're going to hold them off 10 feet away from you, and then you're going to tell them to come on. Once you know that everybody's stopped. Because we have a lot of problems with people running stop arms. So at that point, you never know what's going to happen. So now your service door is open, you're going to tell them to hold the handrail, watch your step, and you're going to count your kids. If I've got 3 kids coming on the bus, I want to make sure there's 3 kids on. I don't know how you all do it, but I just put mine on smallest to biggest. If I've got a kindergarten and a 2nd grade and a 4th grade, the kindergarten's always going to come on first. So and then I can count them that way. Always call them by name. For the new drivers, you may not know their names. So what my practice is Monday through Thursday, I tell them, can you give me only your first name when you get on? And then on Friday, I'm going to try to guess. Doesn't make a lot of difference about the last name. And again, it's always just there in the first. Just try to learn their names. And I guarantee you, if you got a bad one, you'll know it by the end of the first day. No problem, no worries. So now they've got kids, and they're coming in and they're sitting down. And then you're going to do another visual scan. Once they pass that little section up there, we call it the cockpit. Once they pass that section, that's when you're going to start to close that door down. So, close your service door, not all the way down. You still have your big reds on. That way you're looking for whatever's happening around you. And then once you ascertain that your visual scan is clear, now that's when you're going to actually shut your door all the way down. And that's going to be letting everybody know they can go. Because if you flip that door open, kids get on, you flip the stop arm down, before the kids even get seated, traffic's going to start to move at that point. So, and then from there, you're going to put your bus back into the drive, release your parking brake, do 1 more scan, and then you're ready to go. And that's as simple as it is. It takes about 1 minute, but it is 20 steps. They did add a couple more visual scans because we've had some recent accidents that have cost a life. So, in 1 minute, you can choose to either do this the proper way, or if you mess up and something happens, are you going to be able to go to bed and say, I did everything right? I looked all I was supposed to. I did everything I was supposed to. Keep that in your head and you'll do it right every time. That's all I've got for you today, guys.
Thank you, Teresa. So yes, that is part of the most important thing that we do. It's loading and unloading. That's the most dangerous portion of our jobs. And let's be sure we do it right every time. Now, Pat, Kruger's going to come up and do a pre-trip inspection. Now, listen, I want to make it, I'm sure he's going to say this, but pre-trip inspection and post-trip inspection are required by federal law. You are required by federal law to perform a pre-trip and a post-trip inspection every day. Thank you. Okay, one thing I do want to mention is, one thing you need to keep in mind on a bus ramp, anytime we are loading or unloading students, our big yellows, our big reds, and our stop arm need to be out. It has been an issue in the past where buses are loading into school and they only have the door open, they don't have the big yellows or big reds and stop arm on. The second part of that is, as bus drivers, we need to set the example. And if another bus has its big reds out, you don't go past that bus. And there are some people who do it real well. They'll sit there and they'll wait and they'll try to let that driver know they need to put their big reds in so they can go by. But some people just breeze on through, and that's a real poor example for the people watching us as bus drivers. So, talking about the pre-trip, really where this comes from is the fact that the pre-trip that we teach for them to pass the CDL exam doesn't really cover all the things that we have to do in a real pre-trip. So, a lot of this is what during the orientation, we take the new drivers and show them what they really need to do on the pre-trip. And it's a shame that there shouldn't be any difference at all, but there are things for the CDL exam that they don't have a bit of concern about. Just to give you an example, the aisle tread going back to the back of the bus. As a bus driver, we want to make sure that's secure, that there's no trip hazards, and it's not going to be a problem. But they don't even cover that in the CDL exam. So, as I show you this is not designed to tell you, you have to change how you do your pre-trip. If you're doing it and you feel like you're covering all the things I'm going to cover, there's no reason for you to change it. What this really is intended for is where I've had drivers, and some of them experienced drivers, come up and say, I'm really not sure I'm covering everything I need to cover on a pre-trip. And brand new drivers who have actually said, gosh, I wish there was a checklist that we could go down and use. And yes, I know we have a pre-trip form, but that's not really in order that we do any of this. So, the first thing is, on the front of the bus, you're going to check your overhead clearance, making sure that you have no tree limbs or wires that fall out of the bus overnight. Check the stance of the bus that's not leaning one way or the other. Check underneath the bus for any leaks. It could be washer fluid, steering fluid, or cooling. Check the bumper. Now notice, as I'm doing this, I'm only checking the items below the windshield, and I'm not even checking any of the lights yet, because we are going to wind up going around the bus 3 times. On the driver's side, check the reflectors. Go ahead, Chad. On the driver's side, check the reflectors, your reflective tape that goes the length of the bus, any new body damage. You're also going to check any outside compartments, your storage, your fuse, battery, DEF, fluid, fuel, and triangles as you go around the bus. At the front tire, check your sidewalls. The treads should be 4/32 in the front, even the tread wear. The valve stem cap, the rim, the lug nuts, the hub oil seal, and the mud flaps. You're going to continue around to the back. At the back, you're going to check the wheel again. 2/32 to the back. And you're also going to check the addition of the fact that you have rims. Make sure there's nothing between them and that there's an even space. Toward the back of the bus, depending on the kind of bus you may have the radiator on that side, or you may have the muffler on that side. You will need to check the radiator, make sure there is no debris blocking the airflow, or check the muffler for any holes or possible leaks. On the back of the bus, go ahead and take it, please. There's the front tire. Yeah.
Did it not go?
And there's your rear tire with the mud rims. Go ahead, thank you. On the back of the bus, again, check your overhead clearance, your stance, any leaks under the bus. Back there, you could have DEF fluid, coolant, oil, transmission fluid, or diesel. Check your back bumper. Check your heater plug. Could be on the back side or on one side or the other. People always say, oh my gosh, Pat, it is August. Why in the world are you talking about checking your heater plug? Well, the reason you want to check it now is because when you get into cold weather and you have to plug that up, it's not the time you want to find out you have one of the prongs broken off. So you do want to check it on a regular basis. If it is plugged in, now's when you unplug it. Check the reflector. reflective tape around the back side, your reflectors, and your warning signs. Then you open the engine cover. Check your oil. Check your hoses for leaks. Check your belts for wear. Check your fan blades. Check your reservoir for coolant and steering fluid, and then close the engine cover. On the door side, check your exhaust system or radiator area, again, whichever is on that side. Check your reflectors, your reflective tape that goes the length of the bus for any body damage. At the back wheel, check the same as you did the other side. Check all other outside compartments as you go around the bus. At the front wheel, check the same as you did on the other side. Check your fuel tank and gauge through the front door area. You then go inside and sit down. You turn your key on without starting the bus. You are going to be checking to make sure your ABS light comes on and goes off. Check to make sure engine air tank heater light is off before you start the bus. And then you go ahead and start the bus, turn on your headlights. Check to make sure your seats, your steering column, and your mirrors are all adjusted properly to you. Put the bus in reverse to make sure that the backup alarm is working. And tap your horn. Turn on your wipers, your washer fluid, make sure they're working. Turn on your strobe light, your hazards, your heated mirror, your heater pump, and your inside lights. Then open the driver's door, open the driver's window and the door. This is where you're now going to step off the bus. You go to the front of the bus and check your reflective school bus sign. Check your clearance lights, your headlights, and your hazards. Check your windshield and wiper arms. Come around to the driver's window, close the door, turn on the bright lights and the bleed yellow warning lights. Go back to the front, make sure those items are working. As you go around the bus, listen for any air leaks, because now it's running, and you're much more likely of being able to hear those leaks. On the driver's side, check the clearance lights, the turn signal hazard light, the windows, and the window seals. Reflective tape around the emergency exits, that they're all properly labeled. When you get to the back of the bus, check the reflective bus sign, your clearance lights, your big yellow warning lights, your tail lights, and your hazards. Check your emergency window and seal, and the reflective tape around and labeling. Open the engine cover again. This is where you're going to check the hazard lights that are in the engine compartment to make sure they're working properly. You're also going to check your transmission fluid, and you're going to listen while the bus is running for any unusual signs or vibrations. Then close the cover. On the door side, check your clearance and turn signal hazard lights, your windows and seals, your emergency exits, your reflective tape around the exits, and the labeling. Go back to the driver's window, open the door, activate your big revs. Now you're going to have to go back to the front of the bus and then go around to the back of the bus to see that the big revs are working. This is why you make 3 trips around the bus, to do a proper pre-trip. Front, you're checking the yellow, the red, the stop arm, and the crossing gate. As you're going around, anything you may have checked, this the first 2 times around, you can check again. When you get back to the door, check the loading light, the stairwell light, the door handle and hinges, and the door seal. Check the stairwell tread and handrail. Check your fire extinguisher, your body fluid cleanup kits, and your first aid kits. Sit down in the driver's seat again. Check your gauges that they're working, temperature, your oil pressure, and your air pressure all should be rising as the vehicle warms up. You then conduct your lab test. Once you get done with the lab test, you will restart the bus, turning on all your heaters and defroster fans. Again, in the front, you're going to hear those heater and defroster fans right in front of you. But the ones in the back, you're going to check as you do your interior check. As you go back, check your aisle treads, your seats, each and every emergency window, with the exception of the rear one. Mark will tell you, they don't want you opening that rear one all the time. It can be very easy for that to not close, and then that bus is grounded. And your side emergency exit.
goes up, you need to hear that alarm and be alerted to the fact that they've done that. Open your rear roof hatch, check your strobe light. When you go back in front, sit down, turn the heaters back off if they're not necessary. And then you have your other 2 brake checks. You have your emergency brake check, making sure you run up 4 to 500 above idle, making sure the emergency brake holds. And then the brake pulling check, where you go forward 10 to 15 feet, hit the brake and make sure that it doesn't pull one way or the other. When you've done that, you've actually completed your cruiser. That is a lot of steps. And if we're all honest, we probably don't do them every day. And some of them may not need to be every day. The heater plug that I talked about, probably this time of year, if you check it once a month, you'll be okay. But for those drivers that weren't sure of a systematic way of doing pre-trip, this gives it to you. And for those drivers that don't know if they're covering anything, I have this sheet that goes through that just as I did. This is what we give at their orientation. And then I also developed this checklist. And I know we don't need another checklist. But if you feel like you're not sure of what you're checking and if you're doing what you need to do, something like this could be a handy tool. If you would like to have either one of these, all you have to do is let me know and I'll get those to you. I'm not here to create forms for people that don't need them, but people have come to me and said, I really don't know what I'm doing, would you help me out? And that's what this is designed to do. The pre-trip is how we make sure that bus is safe to operate before we leave that bus route. And it's so important to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Good job on that. So again, pre-trip, it's not an option. It's something you have to do every day. So let's be sure we get those pre-trips performed, get that paperwork turned in tomorrow as he requested. Now, Mr. Ramsey, we'll do yours from back there.
Yeah, I need to log in.
Uh-oh.
That might be a problem.
Okay, while we're waiting on everything today, make sure you sign in the sign-in sheet. Make sure you have signed the acknowledgement in the back of your book, and torn that perforated page out, turn that in to print it. Get that to us, so we get that in your driver's record. Do we have any questions at this point? Anything's come to mind, somebody may feel free to ask. Yes? No, that was only a temporary thing because it was messing with their leveling system over it where they're putting on the AstroTurf, artificial turf. That's not necessary. You will still run your strobe lights like normal, as you normally do, unless instructed by dispatch to do something different. Anybody else?
Hey, do you want me to go ahead and play that video? Did you want me to go ahead and play that one video? The railroad?
The deer video?
The railroad? Oh, I'm gonna play the deer video for sure.
No, we'll just skip the rest. I mean, you can, how long was that video?
It's like 10, 15 minutes.
Probably not at this point. But, we'll skip. Charlie, any question? Yes. There is, if you look on the school website, that's what they're showing. There's no at-home instruction option available, it's 100%. So we can expect full loads on the bus.
Now, if the guidance comes out, we'll get that out there.
Should that change? And with mandates, you know how that goes. We all have our own hands in the mandates now. Mandates can come out
Yeah.
You have a mic back there, or you want?
Nah, I probably don't need one. I'm loud.
I would agree.
So, my deal was supposed to be on emergency situations and conditions. So I figured I went back and looked up some pictures of actual stuff that we might actually encounter when we're out on the road. So obviously, not so much right now, but fall will be coming up. Wet leaves tends to be a road hazard, especially in curves.
Believe it or not, you need them all.
Really?
Yep, really.
Well, wet road conditions lead to accidents. The picture's kind of hard to see that it is a deer in the road. Obviously on all of our routes, most of them, everybody sees deer out in the road. Drop the tire off in the ditch. Hopefully nobody drops one off that bad. Let's see. I can't find my Google Chrome.
I agree, 100%.
All right, he's got a video here to show you. I've watched this, he showed it to me like 37 times over the summer. It's really interesting to watch what happens and why anytime you approach and you see a deer, remember there's usually another one coming across the road in the same direction. Sometimes more than one, and just use caution. Turkeys is another incident, so just take a watch this video here.
So this video was shot in Virginia. It was back in April of this year. Obviously we can see up here on this right hand side, this is a 15-year-old, he is dead asleep. We all have that student in the front seat in the morning, dead asleep. No, he will not be for long. Is there for sale?
It's about time to get it.
Oh dear. So you can see it in slow motion.
And like any good bus driver, where that deer is not an authorized rider, he opens the door and lets him exit the vehicle.
At his stop. And now you see your student is finally awake.
He's finally awake. What's happening?
I don't know why the sound's not playing.
I got it on.
It's turned on.
But there's a couple of things on that video that obviously you see the deer coming through. Now that's the way that windshield is designed, that it did exactly as it was designed to do. Those windshields are punch outs. So if you ever find a situation
sound. Well, maybe. I think it went back to a different video.
Big sound, right?
Yeah.
The question was,
You have to hear the kids' reaction. It's pretty funny. Well, maybe there was no sound. There was sound on there. Well, needless to say, when he got up and he was looking around, he actually asked what was going on. He had no clue that a deer had even went to his seat.
Good question. Does the window go in and out?
Yes.
You get back on.
All right, thank you, Dave. So, emergency situations, you run into something, you drop off the road, who you gonna call? First thing. Call dispatch, right? You have a bus issue, you call dispatch. Critical situations, be aware, like Dave said, we've got falls coming upon us, road conditions are gonna change. Of course, winter time coming upon us, as those road conditions change, be aware of those. And use your training that you had to minimize the risk on those. All right, and that concludes our portion of it. Todd, you want to come up, maybe a Q&A or anything as he finishes up? So, again, appreciate everybody. Hope you have a safe school year. Contact training department if you need any help. One thing that comes to mind, if you're a new employee, or if you're an employee that does not have your school email set up yet, we can help you with that. And I encourage you to do that in order to get your paycheck stubs and other communications as well. So I'll turn it back over to you, Todd.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Just want to reiterate what we've said throughout the day yesterday and today. Thank you all for what you do. Last year was an amazing job. We had a lot of obstacles to overcome. You all did outstanding with it. I'm looking forward to a great year. I think we're going to get you out of here a little bit earlier today as well. So with that, if we don't have any questions, concerns, statements, anything you're unsure of? All right, let's have a great school year. Thank you guys for your attention.